Hi, welcome again to a conversation with filmmakers, which is being filmed on the sidelines of the 9th Arunachal Film Festival, which is now going on at the Dorji Khandu Auditorium. The festival has films from across the country. It has master classes, it has workshops, it has a short film festival of filmmakers from Arunachal itself. It's a fun place to be, and should definitely go try and make it there. And in case you missed it for some reason, the other better place is to be here with our wonderful panel of filmmakers who are here. One is from Arunachal and the other two have come from outside. What we want to do is we get to know a bit about their work, know a bit about how their work has evolved, and also of how films matter and connect to people in the Northeast and in particular to Arunachal. Well, I'd like to start with an introduction of Rima Maya. Thank you for being here. Rima makes socially relevant independent fiction films. She's also doing eclectic ad film work. She's doing music videos, and she's two-time Sundance nominee. Two of her films premiered actually at Sundance. 2018, Counterfeit Kanku had its world premiere there, and it has gone to over 120 film festivals, won more than 40 awards. And the film which is here, Nocturnal Burger, has also premiered at Sundance. And was Oscar qualified, and has won over 40 awards. And also she's been awarded the Asian Film Academy Fellowship Award in 2012. Also with us, welcome, Sunka. Sunka's work started with, she was there in Akhoni. If you haven't seen the film, you should. She was there in Last Hour, but now she's here also because she's part of Nocturnal Burger, and she's the Prisma Room Best Actor Female Award winner. Congratulations, and happy to have you. And of course, my friend Dominic, he's a National Award filmmaker himself, studied at the Satyajit Ray Film Institute. His earlier film, which I have also liked so much, Ma Amma, was at Shanghai. This particular film, Rapture, which is here, was at Cannes, it was at Locarno, Brisbane. He's also been a jury member of different film festivals and one of the key people behind the Kelvin Film Festival. Thank you for being here, and I also must mention that he also teaches at the Itanagar Film Institute on and off. I think I will start with Nocturnal Burgers. The film, after I watched the film, it really disturbed me for a long time. Let me start by asking you, how is it that after screenings, do people react like that, or how is it, if you can?
I mean, yeah, it is a very realistic depiction of what happens one night when a 13-year-old girl and a 30-something man are brought to a dysfunctional police station in Mumbai by two strangers. And then through the course of the film, through a series of unreliable characters, we try to piece together what did or didn't happen that night, or what could have happened. And it is a film that talks about child sexual abuse and the various manifestations of trauma, the immediate, the chronic, and the long-term effects that abuse and trauma have on an individual and their psyche, and how it changes the course of the rest of their lives. So I think there's a lot that has resonance with the audience, and usually, you know, after watching the film, there is just silence. Nobody is really able to talk, because I think the last scene itself is a difficult scene to come to terms with emotionally. And right from our very first cast and crew screening to yesterday, actually, the moment the film ends, there is just silence, and then you have to give the audience a little bit of time before you start the Q&A, and then as that time progresses, just the most profound, engaging and moving questions start coming as the audience starts reacting to the piece.
Okay, so you do need a little time to absorb what has happened. So just to push a little bit about your work, how did this film happen, or your other films, you know, where so you traverse two paths, you know, on the one hand you're doing eclectic music videos, you're doing ad films, and then you have the other kind of work which is, you know, very intense, if I can use the word. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely.
How do you work that out?
So, I mean, I have three alter egos as a filmmaker. Like you rightly mentioned, one is a lot of work in the music video space, in the music space. So, for example, there's an amazing rapper called Divine. The music video for his song Bazigar was done by me. Another artist called Ritviz, so Urgai and Ajna. Another artist called Pratik Kuhad. We've done a lot of music videos for them. So, it's very like exceptional independent musicians that are really putting India on the global map, and it's very fun collaborating with them. It's a completely different world. You're contributing to the cultural fabric of the country in a different way.
Right.
And then of course there's advertising, but even in advertising we do like really conceptual work. The most recent one is a campaign that I directed for Nirvana by Boat, the audio brand, and it features Ranveer Singh, and that was also really fun to do, a completely different exercise of the mind. And then of course is independent fiction, which is closest to what my voice is, I would say, and what I really want to say to the world. And I think as a filmmaker, versatility is something that excites me. The ability to, you know, adapt your way of functioning, your way of thinking, your way of speaking to an audience, depending on if you're, you know, collaborating with a music artist, or if you have like a set of brand objectives to fulfill and a brand ambassador to showcase, and if you want to do this intensely independent passion project where again the objectives are very different, the impact that you want to create is very different. So for me it's really fun to see how I can juggle between all three roles. Yeah.
Sumka, I want to like again connect back to the film, because we will want to talk more about it. If I look at your body of work, and also, you know, if I see what you have so beautifully done in the film, how would one extend this discussion and talk about how filmmakers and actors need also to look at you know, contemporary issues of concern, and not just as entertainment within the fiction idiom?
See, this is a topic I think I'm very I know there are two sections of the society, one who believes that, you know, art cannot be political, and one who believes that art has to be political, otherwise it's not art. I'm the one who's like in between. I think for the sake of saying something, if you're going to do something, then I don't think it has any value. But if it comes from a pure intention, and you're doing it not because, oh, I want to show the world this message, but it's more like you're showing them what the reality is, and you want to start conversations. And that's one step towards like breaking taboos, or like, you know, towards building a better society, I guess. So that is the section of the society that I believe in. That is my point of view. So, and I don't think it is fair also to like, let's say anybody who's worked in a certain project, for everybody in the project to have the responsibility or the onus of the weight of, you know, you have to bring change, you have to. I don't think that's also fair. Like, people do things out of like their own personal needs, whether it's just money, or whether they think it's like, I'm going to be more on the map, or whether they genuinely believe in the topic. Whatever it is, let them be. Like, don't put your, I don't think it's fair for everyone to put their expectations on a certain individual and expect them to agree with your point of view, and also like support it, and then keep on supporting, and you can't change your stand on that point of view also, which I don't think it's like, I do not really agree, or like I don't really like that sort of mindset. I think it's too rigid, and it's too closed view of the world, because one can never really know anything.
Right. Yeah.
You get, every day you can wake up and you learn that, oh, I was so wrong.
The commonality between, you know, the films now, Dominic, I just want to tell us a little bit about the film itself, because we are the audience also, perhaps those who could not make it to the festival, but also, you know, this whole, I won't call it a responsibility, but the way, you know, when you, both these films are, you know, in a sense, it's saying something which people need to engage with, you know. So how do filmmakers, say in Arunachal or in the Northeast, especially states which have a younger film history, the engagement with issues, as opposed to films just for entertainment, if you can.
Yeah, so Rapture is part of the trilogy that I'm working on right now. The first part is Mama. So the trilogy is based on the memories that I had in the village, and Mama was based on the very personal memories that I had in the family with my father and mom and everyone, and it was it's a kind of therapy for me. I think cinema is like a therapy for me, and so Rapture, on the other hand, is the collective memories that we had in the village. What happened, like, so what I was trying to do with Rapture is to explore the fear politics of fear, I can say that. And I always believe that fear is something that eats our soul, you know. So what I was trying to do is how this divide between them and us is getting wider and wider, and then I was trying to explore where does this fear come from. And I was through film, I want the audience to kind of have a doubt in their belief system, to have more questions to ask. So nothing in my film is absolute. No dialogue in my film is absolute. I always feel that we are much better actor in real life than in film, because so that is also something that I was trying to play, because I feel that in film we are always doing the supposed to be thing, you know, but in reality the way we act, and we are not even sure anymore that we are acting, because you say something, you do something, you say something and you do other thing completely, you know, you say something and which you don't mean. So these are the layers that I was trying to explore, and through it I also want the audience to kind of not to be sure what they have seen like a 10 minutes before, and then when it get into 30 minutes and when it ends the film, you really are not sure. So that kind of thing I was trying to explore. And so yeah, I mean, the whole film is about how fear can really destroy us as a community. You know, the village itself was the character in my film, and then a group of people, and then when something happens in a village like that, it chooses certain people more than others through their own maybe because they're more affected by their own emotions or concerns that they have, you know. So that's what I was trying to explore in the film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your film, as both your films of course are universal, but at the same time we have this thing about the Northeast film, you know, like we films from the Northeast, which people say that we need to tell our stories, and therefore because there's not enough lot of stories here, but not enough stories being told.
Yeah.
In that light, how do we place, I mean, do we look at Northeast cinema as regional cinema? Because when you look at it from the mainstream, we say regional cinema.
Yeah.
But when you come to the mainstream, there's no Northeast cinema as such. You know, there is mainly Manipuri cinema, and so how do we work around this?
Yeah. So
and
I think
like all of you to pitch in also.
Maybe since I
please, of course. Yeah.
So I think this terming this as a regional cinema is really it destroys films' quality. You know, I think because I travel to film festivals with my film, so my film is not considered regional out there. You represent the country.
Yeah.
You're part of the country. You are making a film from your state, but at the same time, anybody can be from any region, you know. So there is no region, first of all. I don't think that's quite a wrong terms to use. Another thing is in Northeast, like when I was in Film Institute, I had this, how to say that, time when I was almost quitting filmmakings, and I feel like I don't have anything to tell, you know. Like I was chasing for the stories, but I didn't know that the stories I have lots of stories in my village that in my lifetime I won't be able to tell them, you know. So there's so much stories out here. There's so much stories. Like I think we are not finding stories if you really not living our life. I feel like that. If the moment we start living our life, the moment we are in a space where we are and then exploring that, I think there's thousands, and I mean I feel like
absolutely.
Yeah, true.
And honestly, that really opens up the question of like representation doesn't happen overnight, right? Especially in a format like film, which is so collaborative and it requires so many stakeholders to do so many things in a certain way for there to be opportunity for representation. I think it is so important to think who is telling the story, because that determines the gaze, right? If obviously someone who is ignorant about the Northeast is trying to, in a tokenistic way or in a racially prejudiced way, depict a character, it's going to be a really bad depiction. If it is someone who is sensitized with the right intentions, then the depiction changes. But I think what's extremely important is to have filmmakers from here being supported, being encouraged, and to give them the infrastructure, because filmmaking is a very, very expensive medium.
Yeah.
So you have to give them the infrastructure to be able to thrive, because only when the story is being told by someone from here will the right kind of stories be told in the right way. So I think it's very, very important to think about creating the storytellers from the region, and only then will you start seeing that kind of representation on not just a state level way, but also in a national way and in an international way, which is already happening. You know, and it's so interesting to see what the nation's idea of regional cinema, like what you said, is. But internationally, when I'm going to film festivals, films like Dominic's film, films like Stenzel's film, which is a Ladakhi film, those are the films that are representing the country, you know, and it's extremely inspiring to see how they have taken their regional stories and their indigenous ways of life and come out with that, because honestly nobody can tell those stories better than these filmmakers. These stories belong to them, and that gaze belongs to them.
So Sunka, just to stretch that a little bit, would you say that therefore, because you know, like Rima just said that nobody can tell their stories as best, so would you say that there is a narrative of the indigenous, you know, in filmmaking, that the way a person perhaps who would come from outside would tell a story, and the way we tell our stories, like, you know, traditionally, like we have our storytelling and folk tales. So do you think that also needs to influence our filming narratives?
Oh, it will be wonderful. I mean, it will be very nice if we do integrate our traditional way of, you know, oral tradition. If we involve that in our filmmaking also, obviously it will be very interesting. But then again, it's again, like, when we say that somebody who has knowledge about our culture, it's not like, we're not saying it because, oh, we want the job and we don't want you to have the job. It's not because of that. If you're going to infuse things about our folk tales, about our language, about our customs, and about, like you say, even like our oral tradition, where in Patani we said Ayubin. If you're going to involve all of these things, we are very spiritual people. We need somebody who has complete knowledge of these traditions, of this culture. We can't just pick up things of what we like and put it there, you know, unless it's a proper fictional thing where you have like bits of the elements. But if you're showing a more realistic way, you need somebody with like really good knowledge, and we don't have books, it's only oral tradition. So you need to find the correct resource person. So all of these factors do matter. And also, to add to the point about, you know, like the representation, it's like, I feel like when I'm in like, every time I worked in Bombay, like the kind of auditions that we usually get, they always start with the character is of a northeastern girl. Now I don't understand what this northeastern girl is. Like, how are we so separate and like away and different from like rest of the girls of the world? I don't understand that. Like, you want our face, that's fine. Okay, TK. But like, us being northeast adds nothing to our character, to our background story, to what we've been through in our life. It adds nothing to the story. So there is no point in calling any character a northeastern girl, a northeastern boy.
And if I can just chime in on that, actually. So we spoke about, you know, indigenous stories and who has the right to tell those. And just to extend the flip side of it, where we're making, if I'm making films about Bombay or about big cities where there is a lot of immigrant population and there is population from the northeast also, how do you really tackle the other side of the representation, which is not othering a certain community, and being able to depict them as part of the wider diaspora, right? And I think it's really important, the moment a scriptwriter is writing, unless it's very specifically relevant to the story, they are writing northeastern girl, there itself all the preconceived notions and prejudices will pour itself onto not just the script, then, you know, onto the film and onto the audiences. And so it's really, really important. Like when I wrote Nocturnal Burger, they didn't say Simi, a northeastern girl, at all. It was completely an open character. The only thing that was important for me was that apart from the police inspectors who represent the establishment, they are the only ones who are local to the city and to the state. every other character is an outsider in that sense. And for me, that was it. I just needed her character to be an immigrant to the city, but who and regionally how specific that is, it did not matter.
Okay.
And for me, the casting was really about how striking her face was, how striking her presence was, and what her talent and her natural energy brought to the table for that character.
Right. I'll shift the conversation a little bit to the other side of filmmaking. Of course, there is the intensity of creativity and the passion, but the other reality is also on in terms of who's going to watch our films, especially within the Northeast. So, Dominic, I'd like you to expand on this in terms of marketing, in terms of distribution. You know, because films are getting made, but then there's the revenue models are not working out. So what could be the way forward from here?
Yeah, I think first of all, we have to, like, when I'm writing my script, you know, even though I have a funders from outside, like I have institutional funding from Holland and Switzerland and Doha Film Institute, you know, but then I have a co-producers from outside. So sometimes what happens when you are writing a script, such scripts, you know, and when you have institutional funding and you have a lab to attend, so they will try to make film sellable outside.
Okay.
In such a way that you should tell stories which is understandable by them, catering to outside audience. You know, my first rule is no. Our people should understand our film first.
Right.
And that is very, very important. You are making, that is the reason, even in terms of creativity, even in terms of design and sound design or camera work and things like that. You know, when we have, because I studied in Film Institute, so I bring my friends to shoot my film. So they, obviously they have their own ideas of the space, and when they come down and they'll say that, hey, let's do this. Like there is a one sound where when somebody dies in the village, you know, there is a ringing of the bell, ding, 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 like that. And then my sound guy said, but it sounds like a school bell. I said, like, it might be for you, but for us, it's a sound of the death, you know. So this is, first of all, we need to approach like that. So if you approach like that, then people will truly connect to your film. So what I did for distribution is, for my first feature, because it won national award, it travels to lots of festivals. So already the tribe were very proud of it. Like our film went there, you know, we wanted to watch that film. So, and I'm from Khasi Hills, then Garo, so I wrote one post in Facebook, hey, I want to screen my film in Tura, headquarter of Garo Hills, and I need people to help. They said like, yeah, we are here, you know, come. And then one of the producers, she became a producer later on. She runs a homestay. Her name is Eva Gunme, and she said, you come and stay in my place. And then we took up auditorium, government auditorium, as big as this Space DK convention, and we screened the film for like 4 or 5 days, and like 3 shows a day. It was packed. And right now with Rapture, because it's already traveling to lots of festivals, and I'm still not being able to screen in my place yet because of some timings and things like that. And people are saying that, Dominic, you know, you are depriving us of not screening the film. So I feel like whatever film that you make, I always feel that we'll get back our money if it truly makes films that will connect to our people, to our space, you know. That's something I truly believe in that.
100%. And actually, the more, I mean, emotions have a sense of universality, right?
True.
So the craft is how to make very, very regionally specific stories, be them in Arunachal Pradesh or in a city like Mumbai, which is where I come from, but to do it in a way that the emotionality has universal resonance. And if there is humanity in your depiction, if there is empathy in the way you make the film, it will resonate with everybody, regardless of the specificity of context. And in fact, on a global stage, the more specific your context is, the more celebrated your film is.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I would want to say this to kind of maybe to encourage more filmmakers that, of course, there is a local market, you know. So right now, my film is bought by a French distributor, so which is going to release in France theatrically in June, you know. So you never know what will happen to the film that you make in a place which is so so true to the space, so true to our place, you know. So you really don't know what, if you honestly make the film that connects to our people.
Right.
Yeah.
And you work on the technicality of
Right,
it.
right.
Yeah.
The
Of course.
crafting is equally
Important.
yes,
Yes.
representation is important, and yes, the story that you're telling is important, and the intention is important, but you have to remember
craft it well.
that you are a filmmaker,
Yeah.
and you have to be technically amazing, and the craft of the piece has to be global level, then it'll get
Yeah,
the kind
right,
of
right,
recognition
sure.
that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good note to end this wonderful conversation. Thank you so much, all of you. It was really good to hear about your work, and also better also to hear about how the filmmakers were watching, perhaps, you know, to rethink their craft, to rethink distribution, and also to remember to take the films back to the community where you
Yeah.
make them from. Right.
True.
Thank you so much again, and for viewers. Thank you for watching, but more important, please support our filmmakers. We need audiences. We need you to be there. If you're not at the film festival, whenever there's a local film releasing, please go and see it. If it's not releasing, find films, find filmmakers, but do support filmmaking, because storytelling is something that is in our blood. We need to tell stories, and these filmmakers are the new generation of our storytellers. Thank you so much again to all of you.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful.